Hello friends, I am Mohamad, and in this video we're gonna be discussing the release of .NET 11 Preview 1. I know .NET 10 has been released only a couple of months ago, but .NET 11 Preview 1 is already here and with major changes coming in. Some of these changes touch the runtime, which is a really big thing, and other changes that involve ASP.NET, Entity Framework Core, etc. So we're gonna be going through the list of the releases, list of the changes. We're gonna see how we can install it and how we can get started with it. So let's jump into it. So this is the official blog post that has been released by Microsoft when .NET 11 Preview 1 has been released. And as we can see here from the first basically couple of sentences, we can tell that .NET Runtime and SDK is basically one of the main features or main changes that has happened within this release. And this is really major. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through this list. I'm going to show you some of the functionalities that I really like, piqued my interest. And then from there, we're going to see how we can download it and get started with it. So from the libraries perspective, we can see there is a lot of different libraries that has been enhanced, and some of the libraries that really interested me, which is going to be the time zone improvement. And this is going to be really important if you're building any types of SaaS application which relies on time zone in order for it to manage different time zone transitions, doing the calculation, specifically if you have a reference to a lot of UTC and you want to make sure that the data is basically showing up to the user based on different time zone. This will introduce a very needed enhancement when it comes to the speed of this transition and allow it to introduce caching. So this is really improve the performance of the time zone conversion, and it really address a lot of the issues when it comes to managing time zones, and specifically around the caching approach, which basically it replaces a lot of the legacy rules that currently exist when it comes to return invalid date based on the conversion of the time that you have done based on different time zone. And hopefully with this you'll have a lot of better utilization of time zone support. The other library which really piqued my interest is going to be the HMAC and KMAC verification APIs, and this is more from a security point of view. And here basically they tackle one of the, I would say, loophole, or basically one of the security issues that existed regarding timing APIs. And basically with HMAC and KMAC verification API, you will be able to validate those hash data, and you'll be able to make sure that the data that you are using here is not being corrupted or is not being attacked through the timing attack. And this is really good, specifically if you're managing your HMAC and KMAC application. I know a lot of applications that has migrated .NET Core from .NET Framework have some security issues within this, so this is really good to see it addressed here. And one of the most interesting, not interesting, but I think more it's going to be useful addition is going to be the media type map for MIME type lookups. And this is really useful if you're dealing with a lot of different media files that your application needs to support, needs to upload. You want to identify the different types of files that are being sent to you. So you don't really have to recreate your full mapping logic behind it. What you can do is you can rely on the media type map, where basically you'll be able to provide the extension and it will give you basically the media type, and it will give you the full MIME type based on what you need. So you don't really need to create that mapping one-to-one. It will basically allow you to get that. So as we can see from this example, if we provide the extension of the file that the user has uploaded, we'll be able to find the media type for that, and we can basically save it. If we provide the full file, it will give you, for example, the media type for the MIME type for it. If you give her the MIME type, it will give you the extension. So you can see here there's a lot of good use case scenarios specifically regarding around handling files, handling media, uploading a lot of different utilities there. And I can see this is going to be really, really helpful for media heavy SaaS applications, or any types of application that is media heavy. So with that, this is going to be the first one regarding libraries. Then we go to runtime. Within runtime, there's going to be the runtime async, which is going to be one of the major enhancements that has happened within the .NET 11. Nick Chapsas have done a really good video covering all of this in more details. But basically, this improvement will allow you to have a much better implementation of an async await approach. It removes a lot of the code that has been added on top of it, because basically when the first time async await has been introduced, it hasn't been really embedded into the runtime of the .NET library, because Microsoft back then did not really want to change a lot of stuff inside the runtime. So what I did is basically it will abstract some of the code that you have added. It will create its own code on top of it. So C# will basically, it will be writing its own implementation of the async await automatically based on your code, and then it will attach it to it. So that led to a lot of I would say a lot of time to build, a lot of time for compilation, and basically it will give you a lot of overhead when it comes to managing. And it made it really hard to debug all of the code, because basically it's code writing code. But within this, they are removing all of that extra layer, and they are embedding the async await directly into the runtime itself. So here what we can see is they are simplifying to a certain extent the implementation of async await and giving you much more capabilities to help to be able to debug it and to build tooling around it, where you'll be able to get much more better view of what's happening inside your async await implementation. As well, it has now support for native IoT. So now the native IoT ahead of time compilation have full runtime async support, because basically now it can run as a, sorry, not run, it should compile as a full runtime async code, and basically this will give you a lot of the performance that's needed. I highly recommend watching this video to get to delve a bit more detail, but this is really one of the coolest or basically needed upgrade that has happened. The second point within the runtime, which is going to be the JIT performance improvement, and JIT is basically just-in-time compilation, and basically the just-in-time compilation really help within the startup time of the application, throughput, and enabling more optimization. Because basically, if you want to delve into JIT, it's a very, very big topic, but basically what it means is the code only compile when it's needed. And because the way JIT works is basically it compiles the code into native machine language on runtime. So basically with this, it will allow us to have a much more better and faster .NET application up and running. Now, if you go down a bit more, there's changes to the SDK, .NET Run, .NET Test. And here within .NET Run, now we have more of an interactive approach. So basically within .NET Run, there's a lot of enhancement, basically able to specify the different framework that we want to use within .NET Run. It has a lot of like MAUI enhancements. I don't know who still uses MAUI, but there's a lot of MAUI enhancement that, when it comes to that. So .NET Watch enhancement is basically now it can handle having project added to the source code and then building that while the application is running. So before that, if you have trying to add a new package or basically a new project, and you want to see it, you needed to stop the application from running and run it again. But now basically the hot reload will work with that. Specifically if you have a multi-project solution and you try to basically manage all of those different projects simultaneously. If we go down, we can see simple MS build, C#, F#. But now this is where it's really intriguing my interest, the ASP.NET Core and the Blazor enhancements. So there's a lot of Blazor enhancement, but I want to focus on main two items for ASP.NET, which is going to be the first one is the Open API schema support for binary file responses. So now we can see here that it has a full support for controller-based as well as minimal API to have a binary file responses. So we can see here from this simple endpoint from a minimal API that we are able to specify the content type, media type name, application octet. And we can see here that the application is an octet stream, and that's basically now available for us to see within the Open API schema. And now we can see here that the file content result, it will contain the format as binary. It will be able to utilize it. And here we can see a simple example within a controller-based application where they return a binary response back from the action itself. So the other one is going to be regarding the iOutput cache policy provider. And basically this will allow us to have more control about the policy that we want to use when it comes to caching, and give us the capabilities to have more advanced policy scenario where basically so it will give us the capability to check if this policy exists, and it will allow us to inject policies into our application while the application is running from third-party resources. So for example, we can put the policies inside a database, and based on certain scenarios, the caching policies will be loaded. For example, we can allocate it per user, and then from there it will be able to dynamically be verified, and then it will be able to be implemented, and that's a really cool implementation. Again, .NET MAUI, not really sure who's still using it, and all of those different changes. But the most important thing, how you can actually get started and having it. So all you need to do is basically go to the link here where you'll be able to download .NET 11 Preview 1, and once you download it, a simple installer, next, and then basically let's say you want to create a new application. You're gonna have .NET new, let's say web API. I'm gonna call it demo. So if you go here, we can see here, because I downloaded it, it's directly picked it up as my default, although I have here .NET 10 and .NET 11, so it shows .NET 11 as default. And now I can open it in Visual Studio Code, and now it's open in Visual Studio Code. If I open demo.cs proj, we can see here it's using .NET 11 and as simple as any other one. So if I open my terminal, I can put .NET build, it has built, and we can see here it's running now on .NET 11, .NET run, and it's running as well. So that's a very, very simple way to get started with .NET 11 Preview 1. It's still in its infancy. A lot of the features that we might seeing right now were not going to be within the end product. You never know with that. But basically, we can see the direction that Microsoft is taking with the new framework, which I think is really cool and it's going to be really useful for a lot of people. With that, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It will really help the channel. If you'd like to support me, please consider supporting me on Patreon or buying me a coffee. As well, the world is a terrible place right now. If you'd like to support the people in Gaza and Sudan, I'll put links in the comments down below or in the description of the video down below. As always, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.